I'm going to show you how to make a real amazing real estate video. Property videos can either be super monotonous and boring, or they can be fun to watch and really exciting even if you can't afford that property. Now, my video production company doesn't do a lot of residential real estate video production. We actually do really big budget commercial projects for developers, but that's okay. The same principles apply. Today, I'm going to show you 9 ways to bring that big budget energy to your real estate video, no matter how small that condo is. You know what I mean? Let's just dive right in with my first tip, which is to start with a great cut of music. You should think about your real estate video almost like a music video. So you want to find a really good cut of music that sets the tone. This is my favorite stock music site. I'll link to it down below. But when I'm picking music, I don't just listen to it. I look at the waveforms and I look for music that has a lot of variation in the structure. Music composers are excellent in creating structure in their cuts of music, and you can rely on that structure to help you with the pacing of your video. So when you see a waveform like this with sections where the music is clearly changing, you can use that as a cue to change the pacing of the shots in your real estate video. Here's an example of where I really relied on the music cut to determine the pace of my edit. And here's another example. Now, chances are the music cut you select for your video project isn't going to be the exact perfect length that you need it to be. Not to worry, I show you how to cut down any cut of music to the perfect length without missing a beat in this video right here. Now, this demo I do is in my preferred editing app, which is Final Cut Pro, but the principles apply no matter what app you're using. If you are not a Final Cut Pro editor and you want to know more about it, I'll link a beginner tutorial down below, but if you really want to sink your teeth into it, you might want to check out my course, Final Cut Rockstar, available at JennJager.com. It starts at the very beginning with Final Cut Pro, and by the end of this course, you are guaranteed to be a really confident Final Cut Pro editor. You can get Final Cut Rockstar at JennJager.com. All right, my next tip for you is to really create a narrative in your real estate video. It should not just be a collection of random shots. It should really have a purpose and a story to tell. So how do you do that? I obviously like to start with an exterior. Sometimes I even cut in shots of the neighborhood to showcase a great location. But if the exterior is not great, you can always just start with a really cool opening of a door. You just want to give the sense that we're starting the beginning of a story. Once you've done your establishing shots, you want to make sure that you cluster different areas of the property together. We don't want to be jumping from the kitchen to the living room to a bedroom back to the kitchen, right? You want to start with one space and you want to show it from many, many, many different angles before moving on to the next. So how do you decide which space to start with? I like to do what I call the newspaper method, which is that when a newspaper editor is putting together the layout for a paper before it prints in the morning, they will have to fit all of the articles on each individual page. So sometimes they actually have to trim the articles to make everything fit. Therefore, reporters will put the most important information at the beginning of the article, so the editor can literally cut off the last paragraph that has the least important information to make it fit on the page. So I like to think about my real estate videos in that way. Someone may not watch all the way to the end. So you want to make sure that the important, most impressive spaces are at the beginning of the video, and maybe things get less important to the end. Which brings me to my next point, which is you want to edit to the property's advantages. You should be having a discussion with your client about what the most important selling points of that property are, so you can showcase them in the video. Is it super high ceilings? Is it an amazing view? Is it very detailed, expensive, high-end finishes? You want to make sure you're dedicating more time to those specific features that your client thinks are important in your video. So you want to have that conversation before you even shoot the property, and then you want to keep it in mind as you're putting together your video. Definitely linger on the shots that your agent or your client thinks are the most important. My next tip is a bit of a controversial one. I say it's okay to use real live human beings in your real estate videos, particularly if the property has some sort of provenance, right? Like let's say it was designed by a very high-end architect, or it was completed by a very high-end interior designer. Let's hear from the people who put this space together and let them tell potential buyers what makes this space so special. If you have the budget for it, I highly recommend getting any experts in on a high-end space to describe the space and the vision behind it. But above and beyond that, in some cases, I actually also think it's okay to have human beings in the B-roll. Now, you don't want to see the old homeowner, making their coffee in their bathrobe, let's say. But if a space is more of a communal space, like a workspace, or let's say a community clubhouse or something like that, it brings a lot of life to the video to see real live human beings enjoying and utilizing those spaces. So don't be afraid to put people in. And by the way, before I get to my next tip, if you guys like this video, if you feel like you're learning something, let me know. Give me that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and ring the bell. The next thing you want to think about doing is adding visual texture by mixing up your focal lengths. We've all seen the property tour video where it's just one long shot on a gimbal and the operator is just walking from room to room and then they edit it into high speed. That is the absolute worst type of property video. If that is what you were doing, you need to stop doing that right now and put a little bit more thought and effort into your property videos. You want to make sure you're shooting wide shots to show the space, but also get in tighter on those details. It'll really make the video feel more dynamic. It'll help your pacing, and it generally makes videos more interesting to watch. So make sure you switch up your focal lengths. You also want to show function, not just form. So if there are like automated things inside the property, you definitely want to showcase those. For instance, if you have a house with those motorized window blinds, show those window blinds going up or down in your video. If it has one of those microwaves that's like built into the cabinet and you pull it out, then show that as well. Properties are really static spaces, and any area you can find to give them movement and life, you should definitely take advantage of. Another thing I like to do is to show more in my videos without making them longer. Remember, you could make a 10-minute video if you have a really big property with a lot of neat finishes and a lot of spaces to shoot, but the viewer probably won't stick around that long. So what I like to do is utilize split screens to show many different features of a property without making my video longer. I do this all the time. I think it adds to the visual texture and interest of the video edit, and it also serves the purpose of showing the viewer more without taking too much time and making your video longer, because we know viewers have short attention spans. Another thing you want to do is make it easy for the viewer to understand when we're transitioning into a new space. So typically you might do this with some faux in-camera transitions. I'll link to the ones I like to use down below in the description. And this is a really traditional way of getting from space to space, but also think about other ways you can do this that are more subtle. For instance, in this particular video project, I did it with these light leak effects. So I brought in these light leaks at the end of a shot and faded them out at the beginning of the next, which definitely delineates between two different spaces in a more subtle way. And the last tip I have for you is to add some sort of magic sizzle to your videos. So because we work with these high-end contractors, a lot of times we'll be setting up GoPros while they're doing their construction. So we have these great time-lapse shots that we can rely on. But there's ways to do that in one day. For instance, there's this shot where we transitioned from day to night with the same framing and then back from night to day. That was obviously done in one day. But there's other ways to do this in the editing process, maybe by adding some motion-tracked text into your shots to give information and add a little bit of a wow factor. Remember, no matter how small the property you're creating this video for is, you always want to bring that big budget energy to it and show that property in its best light. You guys, which tip was your favorite? What other tips did I miss that you think would be helpful for other video editors who do property videos? Let me know down in the comments, you guys. In the meantime, here's some other videos I know you're gonna love, and I'll see you again.